Welcome to the first of our seminars. We're just beginning out. This is our second run of the Capstone project. So luckily we've got a fair idea of what to do and what works and what goes through. So let's have a look. First thing I'll mention is these meetings will be recorded and posted up on YouTube. I'll add the links in a bit later on. So if you do miss one of these sessions, you can listen to the recording, but it's much better if you can actually come along and join in. If, under some circumstances, some of us may not be able to attend, from the advisor side that is, we will try to be here for as many as we possibly can, but we have other jobs as well, so occasionally not everyone will be able to make it, and that's the case this morning. Right, I don't think we sent out the multiple invitations this time. It actually worked properly, so we don't need to do that. All right, this first meeting is basically just an introduction. We've got a couple of the advisors here. Some are unfortunately tied up with other things, as we can understand with our current situation, which I hope everyone is staying nice and safe and at home. Shouldn't really affect our course here terribly much, since it's at home anyway. But we'll run through a quick introduction for the people who are here, and we'll ask you, the students, just to let us know who you are, what your expertise field is, because this is important with the later collaboration I'll talk about, and if you have an idea for your IoT project. So we'll go through the advisors that are here at the moment, but before we do that, I will mention a few names that can't make it today. Nazanin is on long service leave. She will be back joining us in the very near future. But she is our networking guru, looks after all of our networking labs, and is the person to talk to if you have networking queries. Valerie, unfortunately, tied up this morning, but she will be joining us later. Valerie is one of our programming gurus, expert at Python, very knowledgeable in big data and data sets and how to handle and visualize big data. Hopefully she'll be on tonight. And David, who I think has just been held up, unless that was him joining now. David McMeekin is a software engineer that specialises in location-based services, mapping, dealing with indoor maps, building information, general spatial science information. He'll be giving a bit of talk on that spatial science later on. Okay, Hannes, would you like to give a brief intro of yourself, please?
Would I like to? Well, that's an interesting question. I'm Hannes. My background in mathematical logic, please don't hold that against me. My main areas of interest relating to IoT are artificial intelligence and algorithm design. Those are two of my specialist areas. If you want general programming advice, you're probably much better going to Valerie, but if you want stuff about AI or something nice and complicated with algorithms, I'm very happy to talk to you. I'm very happy to talk to you anyway, but you get a better response from Valerie and other stuff.
Okay, thank you, Hannes. Savash.
Hi, I'm Siavash. I'm an associate lecturer here at Curtin. I teach lots of embedded system units, so anything to do with the more technical aspects of the sensors, microcontrollers, interaction between them. I'd be the guy to ask. My research area is mostly, so I work very closely with Ian in assistive technology and the health sector. So if you had any question and interest, and if your projects are in that area, I'd be more than happy to help. I'll also be jumping in and out of the discussion board, and any of your technical questions and any other questions that come through that IoT Capstone email, I'll try to answer them the best I can.
Okay, thanks, Savash. And lastly, me. I'm Ian Murray. I'm a professor in the School of Electrical Engineering, Computing and Mathematical Sciences. My area is, much like Savash, embedded systems, a lot to do with, oh, excellent, Valerie's just come in. I deal with assistive technology, that's technology to assist people with disabilities. embedded systems, networking. I don't really know much about the machine learning and AI, so I'll leave that to Hannes. They generally sort of try to lead this course, which is fun. Now that Valerie has joined us, Valerie, we're just starting out and doing introductions. So if you would like to introduce yourself, that would be great. Welcome. Maybe she's having connection problems. Is she muted there, Savash?
Yes, Valerie, I'm gonna unmute you. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is it working?
Yeah, yes, it's unmuted now. Morning.
Okay, I'm driving at the moment, so I wasn't wanting to press any buttons. Yes, good morning. So Valerie Maxwell, I'm a lecturer in computer science and I look after a course in predictive analytics, a master's course. So very noisy car. And yeah, one of the main units that I teach at Curtin is a Python programming unit for data science and now for all of science and engineering. So that's a really interesting unit and we're doing lots of modelling and simulation there, which can be informed by the IoT data that we can get in. So looking forward to seeing you all in the course.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. All right, so
I'm going to unmute you since you're driving, right?
that's interesting. Lecturing while driving. I wonder if that's against the law. A bit like texting. Okay, so that's a very quick rundown of people who are here to assist you through your capstone project. Discussion boards are great to talk to each other. I would suggest if you have specific questions, send an email directly to the IoT capstone email address. If you know who would be best to answer your question, so for example, it's a embedded systems question, put their name in the subject line so they know it's actually for them. And if you don't hear back in a day or two, please send a follow-up email. We do get fairly busy and things can be overlooked. So we don't mind if you remind us to come back and check on the emails. Okay. Some ground rules. In these sessions, fairly straightforward. Please be polite and respectful of others. We've got normally a variety of people in these courses from many, many different places around the world, some different sorts of cultures. So just be aware that you may be dealing with people that have unfamiliar ways of doing things. So just be respectful. Understand that not everyone will be from the same background as yourself, which is actually a really good thing. So be polite. In these, if you want to speak, there is a little hand mark next to your name in the chat window. One of us will be keeping an eye on that panel. So if you do have a question, rather than try and talk directly because of the delays in this sort of communication, it can get really confusing and we don't know who's speaking, etc. Just pop your hand up in that chat panel and one of us will call your name out and then you can have your say. Also, mute your microphone when you're not speaking, makes it a lot easier for everyone else. No background noise. We'll probably end up with lots of dogs barking and things like that happening anyway, but if we can reduce it as much as possible, that would be good. I forgot to do something. I'll go back to it. Video is optional, but it's very nice to see who we're talking to. And I think that's David McMeekin just joining us, which will give you a good opportunity to jump back. So video is optional, but it's really nice if we can see you so we know who we're talking to, but it's not that critical. Is that David McMeekin just joined us, Savash?
The name is
Yes,
David.
it is.
Yes,
it
good
is.
morning, David.
Okay. Good morning.
We've just got past the introduction, so we can jump back to that. Would you like to introduce yourself, please, David?
Okay. Well, good morning from where we are, and good evening or afternoon to wherever you guys are in the world. So, welcome, and secondly, my apologies for being late into the first meeting. Just with everyone in the house here at home, was a little bit chaotic and time ran away. So, my name is David, as you've heard, and I'm have a background in software engineering and computer science, and nowadays do a lot of work into the area of location-based information and deliver location-based information in real time, hopefully answering questions and creating new knowledge. So that's in the area of semantics and semantic web data. So yeah, so that's what I'm up to, and looking forward to what we've got installed in front of us.
Okay, thank you, David. All right, so that was your list of advisors, except for except for Nazanin, who, as I said, is on long service leave. So what we'd like to do now is Sebash will rotate through the students that are actually online at the moment. I don't think we've got too many this morning. Would like you just to introduce yourself, who you are, where you are. That's always interesting. It's not critical, but we do like to know. And if you've got an idea, please explain what you think your project will be about. If you don't have any idea, we can talk about different areas or different options for you, dependent on your interests and your skill set. And I will mention this, is we do have normally a very wide range of skill sets among the students. Some people are very technical, some have been programmers or engineers for years, others are business people, other people have never done anything like this before. And it makes it very interesting in why we've formed these teams, so that you can actually help each other out. You can talk to people who have got a completely different skill set to you. They can help you with, say, your business analysis side of things, or your project management, if you happen to be a technical person, and really help each other out on that. So we'll run through the people who are online at the moment. Please, Sebash, call out names.
All right, guys. So I'm just gonna call out your name, and please go ahead and unmute your mic or type in the chat with a quick introduction. I'll start from top of the list. Anthony, would you mind going ahead and introducing yourself?
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, oh great, okay. As my name said, I'm Anthony. I'm located in Sydney. Okay, reason for my interest in the course was, okay, my background is I completed an advanced diploma in electrical engineering about 10 years ago. So I've got quite an interest in the hardware side of things. So that sort of skews my interest towards the hardware aspect of IoT. After that, I completed an information technology degree through RMIT, distant, online based. So I've got a skill and interest in the software aspect of it. So when this course came along, it sort of meant that it dovetailed those two interests, and as well as providing a framework for me to actually put something together, complete a project, so to speak, something that I can show and demonstrate, add to my portfolio, and demonstrate my capabilities in these areas. That's my aim. I must say, idea-wise, I'm really not sure what to do at this point. I mean, put it this way, I believe I've got a number of raw skills that I can apply, but I'm a little hazy about how to actually focus them and apply them to a specific thing. So I guess from what's been said so far, this is this particular course is really suitable for people such as myself who want some focus as to something to do. So my apologies for being so long-winded, but I hope that's a decent enough background to me and as applies to this course.
It's pretty true, yeah. The idea of the course is to take a very, very wide range of abilities of the different students and build them or try and merge everything together. The IoT is a very interesting area. It covers basically any discipline you want to name, from motor mechanics, architects, medical people, and they're the ones that will normally come up with the ideas. You know, they're in a job that says, I need something to look after this task for me. However, they won't necessarily have the expertise to be able to build anything along those lines. So this course is really about taking people who have a certain skill set, maybe in a particular field of expertise, build them up so that they can talk to the engineers and designers and software developers in a language that makes sense and understanding the limitations of the hardware and software, right? So they'll have a technical understanding, may not be able to implement everything themselves, but will have the technical understanding to be able to talk to the people who have the ability to build things. And it works in the reverse too, because we've got a wide variety of students from very different backgrounds. Someone like yourself with a very technical focus can get the ideas from your teammates on what things should be built. And you can look at the business side as well. So that's how we're trying to cover the course. Okay, Sebastian, who's next?
Thank you, Anthony. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. Avril, would you mind going ahead and giving us a quick introduction?
Oh, guys hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, you're cutting out a little bit, but your audio is coming through.
Yeah, facing my laptop anyway. I don't have. So, who I am? I currently live in Canada, and I'm my background is bachelor in EE and master in project management. Basically, EE means communication and semiconductor. CMOS and MOS. So long time, and my work actually long time since my graduate. I always working in the industry, application side and both. And currently, I'm working in telecommunication IT, focusing on API, data and messaging lots. So and then why I joined IoT? I think IoT is the best thing. Combine hardware and software. So my background, which means EE background in bachelor, and I also have used system science, which leading to master. Only this, and which means MIS and statistics. Yeah, I'm not sure you know science. Anyway, and then also in management. So I want to find a joint point between hardware, software, and especially is IoT and API and plus local. Because in my view, I think IoT device local technical operation. I think normally supposed to be local. Honestly, because competition in the global is so high, but I want to combine my background in the competition, also get into the emerging market. So based on my background, I try to find one point because currently I'm working API, supporting API technical operation to and messaging. Also, I joining John. I'm not sure John, which means unmanned vehicle. Yeah, I already paid money for the ID-19. It's just sitting there. So I intend to have my future, my full-time job in telecom IT, my part-time job in local business operation of a manned vehicle plus AP plus IoT. So, so I think I already told.
Sorry, Avril, excuse me to cut you off. You're getting a bit cut off there. Maybe if you could you move your mic a bit closer. So.
Okay. Hi. Did you hear me more clear?
Yeah, it's a bit better now. Thank you.
Okay. And then I think you get who I am, right, and where I'm from, and and then my wide my also what I like is because first course very little video. At that time, actually, I was working in agriculture, which means digital marketing. We have lots of farmers, which actually ASF clients purchase kind of seeds, and then if I master IoT, right now I think more.
I think, Suresh, we may need to rely.
Yeah. Sorry, you're getting very cut off. Maybe you could type your idea in the chat. I got your background. If anyone missed it, she's from Canada, and honestly, most of it, when you were talking, your voice is getting cut out. So you could, if you maybe give us a quick introduction in the chat, and I'll get back to it and read the introduction.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So while you're typing, Avril, I'm going to.
We can see you typing.
Yep. Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna while you're giving your introduction there, I'll maybe because we got your background, if you could maybe talk about the specific area you're interested in.
Okay. Great.
While you're typing, I'll move ahead and ask other people to introduce themselves. So I'm gonna mute you if you don't mind.
Yeah, if we do have an audio problem, we'll let you know, and we can always use the chat window or find some other method.
Yeah. So Gopal, you're next. Would you mind unmuting yourself and giving us a quick introduction?
Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my full name is Gopalakrishnan Elmolai. I'm 15 years process automation experience, and I'm taking care of spectrum from PLC-based or PAC-based process automation from shop floor to the MES layer. My experience starts from the programming, PLC programming. I started as a PLC programmer, and then my skills get broadened when I get more number of years in PLC and industrial SCADA system, process automation. And then when I see the course on IoT, I just browsed through one of the day. I mean, in EDX, then I found the IoT. I was interested. I know some concept of IoT, but I was I'm not really I understood the concept, but I just want to have some real-time experience to know more. Then I started with the introduction. When I finished my first course, then I was so excited to learn more. That's what happened in the first course, IoT 1, right? So it gives everything. Then I want to know more. Then I ended up in joining this MicroMasters. That's what happened. And then whenever I finish my course, I always thinking about my how I can interpret this thing in my work, because I'm in the same field, but I'm doing this thing with a different way, like a traditional way. Let me say that. The traditional way is like everything needs to be a server-based system. There's the cloud concept is there in the business environment, not in the process automation environment. So that's why I started thinking about it. Then one first thing coming to my mind is everything I touch for an automation, it's expensive. It is not affordable in industrial environment if you want to do small thing. But another way around, if I do something for my home, it's a lot cheaper and lot of things you can do, right? That's how the things are varying. That's too much variation there. One is in all the industrial products are very expensive. All the home automation, or if you want to do something try it in home, it's so it's inexpensive, I would say, compared to the industrial environment. And I understand there's a lot of certification, a lot of efforts the company is doing to make it happen. That's why they're putting the cost on. It's getting into the product, and selling that way. So my concept is what I come out of that is let us do a cost-effective solution for industries also. Why not, right? So let us try that. Then in my thought process, I know for currently in short, so monitoring the critical parameters in an equipment and giving alerts to the code if there is some warning and or an alarm condition. Right now, this is attained by an expensive solution, and the critical parameters are not monitored for every equipment. So plant decides, okay, I want to monitor this equipment either because it is safety related or it's the environment or it's a very, very much important for my production. If this is not coming under this area, then we do care about that equipment, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to monitor all the time those equipments, right? Because it's expensive. You cannot put a sensor for monitoring all the equipments in the floor, in the production environment. It's not viable, and you will not get the returns for that investment at all. But if we could do some kind of approach like this, if I have a controller, very minimum controller for a motor, for example, if I could measure the vibration and temperature and kind of sound, because those three things people used to monitor once in a while to see whether that particular motor is good conditions or not. Apart from the electrical parameters, that's the two different areas. One is physically what we can see, pump or a motor. So what I'm thinking is to take those signals into the edge device, make sure that compare those signals. If there is an alarm or warning, then only I can transfer the data to the cloud, and then during that particular scenario, I can take some predefined time log. For example, if this event is occurring for a few minutes, then I can take the past few minutes or past an hour data and transfer to the cloud for analysis. That's my idea.
That's a very interesting idea. To give you an idea, we've done some, well, not me personally, but one of my associates has done a lot of work on a LNG plant in the northwest of Western Australia. And you say it's expensive to put sensors on everything. They initially started with over 6,000 sensors on this plant, and they're moving towards more than 10,000 at the moment. And what they did is something very similar to what you've mentioned. There's a large number of fans on the cooling towers, big industrial fans. And if one of these fail, it's extremely dangerous, right? So if the temperature starts to rise, it's liquid gas. It's very, very dangerous. The way they've been looking after these fans in previous times is they have someone who walks up and down the gantries listening to them. And they can pick up when there's something becoming unbalanced or bearings wearing out just by the sound. So one of the sensors that's on there is not only the vibration, but also a microphone. And the microphone currently doesn't, but should be using machine learning to learn what the normal sound is and pick up any anomalies that are coming out from the audio, and then set the alerts when needed. And that's a case where you would do most of the processing at the edge so that you know when something is going wrong, and you know fairly quickly when something is going wrong. But the learning process can actually happen out in the cloud where you've got better processing power. So it's a very good idea that you're looking at something that runs in parallel to the PLC SCADA systems, but as a monitoring tool as well. So it's an interesting project, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gopal, for that introduction. I'm going to mute you, and HV, do you want to go ahead and give us a quick introduction, please?
So, hello everyone. I'm Hamid Baghirli. I'm from Canada, Manitoba. I studied Masters of Electrical and Computer Engineering, and my project was on advanced matrices, more specifically on hierarchical or edge matrices. And now I'm working as a full stack web developer on 2-3 companies. So I've been living with IoT devices for a while now. Everything in my condo is automated, lights, lock, everything. But soon I realized that when I go for travel and leave my condo, every time I gotta ask my friends to come up and take care of my plants. So that was the time I started thinking about making watering plant automation, so smart pot, sort of. So I started that project with a couple of my friends, and now we're at a phase that we're trying to model or to bring it to manufacturing.
And that's on a small inside type plant market, or is it a larger scale?
We hope that we can go to the larger scale, and we added a lot of different new ideas to the device. Because around the same time we started this thing, there were a few companies that they started to have those smart pot devices, but they weren't successful, mostly because their devices were expensive. So we find some solution to make it cheap, relatively cheap. And later on, we want to just collect the data to make the watering or adding nutrition to the plant more efficiently based on those specific plants people use. So during time, we can learn from the machine learning that what is the best way to water the plant or make the plant nutrition or change the orientation of the plant towards light. And now that marijuana is actually legalized in Canada, maybe our next phase is to just go help that industry.
It's an interesting one. We've had a lot of people working on agriculture, not so much on the indoor plants for personal use, but that's definitely a viable sort of thing to be looking at. If you're going to match it to the, sorry, I was just going to say the plant information from some online source, so that you've got the specific information on watering levels, light levels for that plant.
Right.
That's unique. I haven't seen anything like that, and I'm a bit of a keen gardener myself. I've got 400 or a bit over 400 square meters of veggie garden in my backyard. So.
Ian, I was just going to add to the conversation that Hamid got in contact with us, and because he wants to take the idea commercial, I thought it would be a good time to talk if anyone does want to take their idea as a commercial and don't want to discuss the specifics of them during these meetings. That's fine. And when you send us the email, it would be only be seen by the faculty. And we do encourage people in the course to share their ideas with each other during the different assessments. But if you want to focus more on the commercial aspects, that's fine. You don't have to share any specific details with the other students.
And that also includes the marking. We've got some peer assessment done within the course. If you have something that you want to be kept commercially in confidence, let us know, and you won't have to submit for yours to be peer assessed, but you'll have to do peer assessment of someone else's. We did this in the last run. We had a couple of people with a very, very interesting product that they were bringing to market, and of course we couldn't tell anyone about what they were doing. So just let us know if you don't want us to allow other people access to it.
Thanks, Hamid. We just had someone join us, Andrew Brown. We're just giving a quick introduction of our background and the project you're interested in. Andrew, if you don't mind giving us a quick introduction.
Hello, can you hear me there, guys?
Yep.
Sorry for the late joining. Where I'm at the moment, everybody must be stuck at home, and the internet's been terrible this morning. So apologies for the late joining the group. So yeah, I'm obviously I haven't heard what people were discussing earlier up until now for joining, but I'm based in Mildura. I work in agricultural business, and my interest in doing this course is because it's things we're currently installing, taking part in, getting companies to install for us, and I'm seeing things that potentially could be developed and done, ourselves in probably addressing some of the problems we face in agriculture. So I've got a couple of ideas which I'm still sort of jotting down notes, which one I'd like to actually do as part of this course. But I sort of see things that can be done mainly in the area of reducing water usage and power usage in our agriculture, as far as knowing what the soil profile is, and so not underwatering, not overwatering, which wastes resources and also electricity, and making sure that we keep the water up in the area of the roots of trees or crops that is actually effective, and then doesn't go too deep where the actual water is wasted. So yeah, that's I don't know if that's a good enough introduction, but hi, I'm Mildura in Victoria.
Okay, thanks for that. That's yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
So generally, you're looking at crop type agriculture.
Yeah, so look, I've been in agriculture a bit in wine business and grapes. Currently involved in actual trees in almond production. So obviously there's a lot on the news every day about water supply and the cost of it, and who gets it and who doesn't, and the other side of the thing is the cost of power, and in large scale agriculture you do lose a lot of energy, which obviously has impacts for pollution and other things. So and the expense. So things that reduce that is a good thing, and anything you can do which can reduce your cost of production it makes your businesses viable, competing for sales and maintaining your business and maintaining employment and that sort of thing, especially in regional Australia.
Yeah. Well, there's a vast range of things that can be looked at, and we can talk about details and types of sensors and all that sort of thing as we move along. But smart agriculture is a huge area, particularly in Australia, where we've got the high labour costs, high power costs, lack of water. So something that's really worthwhile looking at. Should be very interesting. Okay, Savash. I think you're muted.
Sorry, that's all for the introductions. That was all the students.
Okay, excellent. Well, thanks for that. Give us an idea of where we're at and where we're heading. Just on the, actually, I'll just go through the list first and then we'll talk about those. Okay, so the purpose of these meetings, this first one, just a quick introduction, but this MOOC is very different to what we've done previously. The idea of these meetings is to ask questions, meet your teammates, because people, as I've said, come from a very, very wide variety of backgrounds. So you can make use of their expertise, they can make use of yours, be collaborative. And you can learn a lot just from your teammates. We don't have a huge amount of content up on the MOOC itself. That's not how we want to do this. There's plenty of information about project management, costing, and other aspects of taking a product to commercialization. But the main part of this is talking with your advisors and talking with your teammates. So it's more of a forum than anything else. We've got, as you've seen, a wide variety of skill sets in amongst the instructors, and there will be among the students. So that's what we would like to have in these sessions. We don't want to be talking at you all the time. We'd rather be listening to you and hearing what your ideas are, how you're approaching things, trying to assist you in how to develop your system fully. So you need to propose an idea, and it pays to be very ambitious and creative. If you can't produce everything you said you will produce, that is not what you're going to be assessed on. The assessment itself is really about how well you've thought out the project, how well you have done the background research, you've made sure that there is a need for the product that you're going to produce a prototype for, and getting ready for that final prototype stage. Think about the requirements, what you need. It's probably a good idea, particularly in our current circumstances, to think, if you're going to build a physical prototype, what parts do you need? And look at, excuse me, ordering those in as soon as possible, because there are quite a lot of delays. If you're unsure of what you might need, I'm more than happy to help you out there, Savash, myself, particularly on the hardware requirements. In a lot of cases, you can simulate the whole lot and you won't need anything until the very end. In the discussion boards, previously we had a fairly large number of students, so there was over 100 in the first time we ran this course. This time we're sitting just under 40, I think. So advantage is it's a little bit more personal. Disadvantage is you won't get as wide variety of opinions as we had in the other one. But please use the discussion boards, which Savash will be keeping an eye on, and I'll jump in every now and again as well, to discuss things with your fellow students. We've reduced the number of teams down, and we've reduced the areas so that we can try and get that critical mass in each of the groups. We really want to have 5 or 6 people in each group as a minimum. The more the merrier, but we'll try and tailor those once we've got proposals so that you can see that you're in a group with people who are doing something that is related either in the technology or in the subject matter that is in common with everyone else. So for next week, if you could make a list of questions, both for your team members and also for us, that'll get us started off. We will start with a brief introduction or cover some relevant topic as we move through. Okay. Other things, what did I have down here? Oh yeah, don't forget that you have access to the Cisco courses. If it has expired from the first time that you did the Python or networking course or the cybersecurity course, let us know and we'll put you in to one of those again if you want to run through that information. Really, that's all we wanted to cover from our side today. So we can take questions or suggestions. We can talk about some of the past projects if you like. Let us know what you'd like to cover in the last 10 minutes or so. Questions?
Please use that raise a hand button from the right hand side next to your name if you have any questions.
Everyone's got a hand up. I think she typed something in.
So she has a couple of questions. So okay, I'm going to read them through for the recording. First one, she's asking, what if only one member is in that topic? Please note that topic was from the list that we've given her.
Yep. We will rearrange things so that you will be grouped with people who are either using a similar technology, which may not be obvious in the first case or initially, but we will group you with people who are going to be in similar things.
And another question she has, even I'm from IT background, I'm not programming guru. Your expectation is to roll out a product. So I'll take that one. As Ian mentioned, the expectation wouldn't be that everyone's under the same level. So we'll have a vast majority of people from different backgrounds, from technical backgrounds, management backgrounds. So it's really about how you're approaching and what areas of the project you're focusing on. And if you did have programming questions throughout the designing of your project, we have a lot of programmers here to help you out with more specific programming questions. So Valerie would be the right person to ask those questions in. And if you needed advice for any specific aspects of those programming aspects, you can always feel free to email us at that IoT Capstone email address. And if they're specific to one person, so in your case, if you want to talk to someone that's in programming, either put in the subject line, put Valerie or Hannes's name there. So then when the questions come in, the right person would get to them and answer you.
Gopal had his hand up.
And Gopal, you want to go ahead?
Question one. No, sorry, she had another question at the very top of the list.
Okay, let me see. Question one. She asked, I did not see a smart city. Just trying to read through the question. Proposal. I think she's asking about whether there was a specific group for smart city or not.
We'll see. I would expect more than likely there will be, because we've still got the evening group to go, and that's a larger group than the morning one. The smart city it could cover things like the industrial and automation, because we're looking at the same sort of thing. We're sensing the environment, we're gathering data on that environment, we're making a decision on that data, and we're giving feedback to users. And it becomes very, very similar. Not in the application, but in the concept. It's very, very similar.
She's asking, the topic is in Team C, but she wanted to add her specific topic. Please keep in mind those topics, those are just general topics. We're not adding everyone's project titles to the teams. Those are just general topics, so you can see what other people would relate to the same sort of area, so you can have a discussion within yourselves. You won't be necessarily adding.
An idea.
Does that answer your question, Avril?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. No problem. So, Gopal, you have a question.
Yeah, I see Team ABC, right? And I think I'm repeating the same question. So when I go to Team A, do I need to put all my discussion points in this, like example, soil testing for subsistence farmers? Is that a topic I need to update my discussion type, or can we create one more, like, can we create one more
ideas? They're things to seed ideas. So these are things that we've been thinking of ourselves, or we've had past projects in. So it's just to give you ideas of things that can be done in case you don't have something on your own. We had some really interesting ones come out that had nothing to do with the suggestions that we put up. Probably my favourite was the equine health management, so looking after horses. We had a vet who did the course excuse me, previously. Very little technical knowledge, but came up with a wonderful idea for managing the health of horses. And one of the things he needed to do was, if you know what's coming up, was to look at a symptom that is indicative of horse health, and that is the colour of its mucus. So you had to work out how to sample horse nose mucus and then identify the colour of it. I've gone way off track on that, but I just love that project. But we didn't suggest that. He came up with that on his own. It was something that he had a call for. And we actually put him in with the health people because, okay, it was a horse, but it's still doing the same sort of biometric measurements. So that's how we would group people together. If it's got the technology or the application area the same, then we would group people together.
Okay, so then I can leave my discussion note in the same area in the Team A.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think you are allowed to create a discussion topic if it's something that doesn't fit within the team you're enrolled in.
I tried, but I didn't see it. That's why.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that, and it probably isn't a good idea because if you start to put things in too specific a container, nobody's going to see it.
Yeah,
because they won't actually go into it. It's better to keep them nice and broad. As I said, we've only got just under 40 students this time around, so it's not going to be overly active. It's not going to be cluttered. So I tend to keep things in one major container, and you can just skim through the list of topics and see which ones are of interest to you and join those discussions as threads rather than as separate groups.
Okay, thank you, Gopal. If you don't have any more questions, okay. So Hamid has a question in the chat. He's asking about where he can look for specific machine learning information with, cloud information with Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure and sending data back and forth. So we will have a talk about machine learning. I keep saying machine learning. We will have a talk about Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure and cloud in general near the end of the course. If I'm not mistaken, Valerie gave that talk last time around. So, but if you needed a specific information on the specific areas, we're gonna look into that, Hamid. Please send us an email and put Valerie's name in the subject line so she can get back to you with information more specific to your.
If you're not doing any processing, some of the things we've run through using Thingsboard and other dashboards that don't require processing are a good cloud-based service too. So don't tie yourself just to Amazon, Azure, or those commercial cloud platforms. If it's a simple display that you're after with minimal processing, there's lots of other options as well. And you can build these on your own server, so private cloud type thing.
Hopefully that answers your question. Anthony has his hands up. Would you mind going ahead and answering your question? Asking your question, Anthony?
Sure. Okay. My question, obviously, okay, this is a IoT course, so it's kind of implied that hardware figures in a project significantly. Would it be acceptable to say focus on, well, as I mentioned earlier, I don't have a specific idea at present. I'll be thinking about that the next couple of days very about that. But what I'm thinking so far is, what about a focus on the software side, streaming, analyzing, processing information based on, say, sensors that might already be in place, you know, like tapping into pre-existing sensory systems that might be available, and concentrate the project on making use of that, if you like a data source, if you like, and then doing something with it, extracting it, et cetera, et cetera. Would that be an acceptable focus for this project for this in this course?
Yeah, it certainly would be. We didn't do it in this course, but one of our honours students created some middleware so that it acted as a interpreter between generic sensors of some kind, and then output to the data in a standardised format that can be used by anyone. So that sort of thing is perfectly legitimate. If you think back to one of the case studies we did on the Living Lab at Curtin, in one of the earlier courses, you could do something with those sensors, for example. So you wouldn't actually be building any hardware. That's, if you want to build hardware, great. That's one of the things we do. But if you want to just deal with the data, that's another thing that we do. So you could take something like the Living Lab, extract information from there, do some modeling or interpretation or prediction, whatever you decided to do with it, and use that. There is no absolute need for development of hardware sensors.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
No worries. Hamid, you had your hand up for a sec. We did answer your question in the chat. Do you have any additional questions?
Yes, maybe this is more related to home devices. I'm not sure. So as you see, all those like smart lights, home devices, when you want to set them up, there's a mobile application that most of them have, and then through your phone, I think through the Bluetooth, you connect your Wi-Fi network to the device. There are not a lot of open source or information online that you can really understand what's going on from your phone to the device. Is it something that we can address during this course, that how we can manage having the smartphones to devices connected?
Again, that's sort of along the lines of the middleware, where you look at, you've got your Amazon, Android, Apple apps all running for the different smart devices in your house, and they all use different protocols. What is possible and actually very worthwhile doing is writing some middleware which would then translate what is normally done under those 3 or 4 different applications, puts it into one, and then speaks Apple, speaks Android, speaks Amazon out from there. And that's what middleware is all about. It's acting as an interpretive layer so that you don't need multiple devices to talk to different light bulbs, for example. So that's actually a really good project on its own. And that fits very well with the IoT because people are always going to come up with these new standards and you don't want to have to run another app just to run this one particular device. That's not making things smart.
Thank you.
Ian, if we have time, there's one last question from April. She asks, are there any test environments that she can use a remote desktop protocol? I think Thingsborg, probably. Thingsborg would be a good kind of test bed for that sort of.
It depends what you're trying to do.
If you could maybe elaborate your question a bit, April, to us.
It might be worth putting into an email, just framing what you think you would be doing. But using RDP, you could easily set up either a virtual machine or using a little Raspberry Pi or similar Linux box and manage whatever RDP that you calls you want to do. I don't know about a test environment though. It really depends. Oh, emulator for IoT devices. Lots of emulators now. Again, depends very much on what you're trying to simulate or emulate. There's a big difference between those two right away. Again, if you're looking at those sort of remote calls, the best way to simulate that is through virtualized machines. Yeah. Yes, you set up a private cloud on something like a Linux box, some small Linux box, either as a virtualized machine or as a separate embedded controller, which you can pick up for $20. But setting up a private cloud is no major issue, and there's lots of open source versions of that. Okay, so that's our time up. Has anyone got any other questions before we head off? I'll just say again, if you have any questions, please email the IoT Capstone email address. We will answer them as soon as we can. If you don't hear from us within 2 days, please remind us that it's there. We do get a little busy and miss things. In the meantime, read through what needs to be done this week. And next fortnight, we shall have another chat.